I just got finished watching Sailor Moon Cosmos. Um, I'm a little late to the party. The film came out August 24th, but I just watched it August 6th. Um, and yeah, the film was incredible. Hi, I'm Osoweeb, and I make anime videos on the internet. I also have a Patreon if you guys would like to support these types of videos. But I've been a Sailor Moon fan since I was a child. My earliest memory of Sailor Moon is watching it on Spanish TV um, a long time ago. I believe I got in like the Queen Barrel fight near the end of the show. Is whenever I got into the show. But the show would always be on air every single time at whatever was my local station at the time that I was living there. I mean, in the local station when I was living in South America, alongside reruns of Dragon Ball Z on TV. And I've been a longtime fan of the series and franchise. If I ever get the opportunity at a karaoke session, I will be singing the opening to Sailor Moon at those events, as it's a bop. Um, and whenever Sailor Moon Crystal came around 2013, I did not get into the Sailor Moon train until I didn't really get into Sailor Moon Crystal until Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3 came out. And even then, I checked out the first season and I wasn't interested in the Crystal franchise. But due to the fact of the release of Sailor Moon Eternal and the success of Sailor Moon Eternal and the overall time and effort given to those films and just the whole environment around it and how the films were picked up by Netflix, I was like, I'm watching Eternals, and if Eternals is good, I'm going to be watching all of Crystal. And since then, I have gone back to watch all of Sailor Moon Crystal and finished up watching the original TV anime, as I never got the opportunity as to really go in and watch the series in its entirety. So coming into Sailor Moon Cosmos, I had been following the film since the announcement that the film was going into production, and whenever any interview or production materials will come out for the film, I was there day one when those announcements and news headlines were hitting the stage, and also all the video documentaries that I saw leading up to the film. Due to the fact that the film came out last year in Japan, and just the overall landscape of the anime and the overall anime landscape for the past couple of years, I've gotten distracted or kind of lost track that this film was coming out until I started hearing that one of my friends was watching Sailor Moon, and where I then recalled, it's like, oh, Sailor Moon Cosmos is coming out. I'm watching it. Gotta watch it. And now I have. Few highlights of the film is that the first Sailor Moon Cosmos film opens up with the original Moon Daitetsu. Sailor Moon Cosmos opens up with Moonlight Densetsu. And as I said before, I love this song. And from here, the film already had my emotions in there. I came in with everything that's come before, and just hearing this incredible song as the opening for these films, it's like, wow. From my time remembering back to the interviews that I saw, is that the director for the film was trying to bring back Sailor Moon to how it was in the original TV anime, as compared to whatever happened with Sailor Moon Crystal. I know, at least in the West, whenever Sailor Moon Crystal was being streamed over here, when Sailor Moon Crystal was being released and streamed over here in the States, it was a little bit derisive due to the issues of animation quality for the broadcast as compared to the original anime. Then Sailor Moon Crystal was falling more in line with the manga while not retaining while not exploring the added stories or adding anything to the Sailor Moon series that would make it more interesting and more worthwhile for a new audience, as it strictly followed in line with the manga, and solely that was it. And if you don't already, and this is all due to because of the manga author's relationship with Toei Animation, with Toei and their handling of the franchise back in the early 2000s. So going into here with this film, these ideas were rectified with Sailor Moon Eternal, as the film brought back one of the original character designers for Sailor Moon for Eternal, and bringing it back more in line with the original TV anime. And then here it just continues more with the repeat with the I get well, and it continues here again with the reuse of the original OP. As this is my first time interacting with the Sailor Moon Stars portion of the story, I came in knowing about the Sailor Starlights, and also the fact of like their gender and how they kind of like work within the no, it's like I came in knowing about the Sailor Starlights and their whole thing, as the Sailor Starlights are, well, they're alter egos on Earth. They're a boy band, but whenever they transform and become the Sailor Guardians, is that they present one way, they present masculine, the other way they present feminine. Even though the alter egos, they present masculine, but and then once they transform to becoming pretty guardians, I mean they become Sailor Guardians. Well, once the team becomes the Sailor Starlights, well, once the crew becomes the Sailor Starlights, they present more feminine. I personally do not want to go in there because I do not feel the best individual as to be exploring the topic and being one to express, analyzing them. But there are many other people who have done better and greater deep dives on the characters themselves and the relationship with gender and sex with the series itself. But they were incredible, and I loved them. And shout out to Sailor Starfighter, because like with Sailor Uranus, as with Sailor Starfighter, just like Sailor Uranus, they surely do have a thing for Usagi, even though Usagi has eyes for Mamoru-chan. But overall, it was incredible. In the first film essentially presents the whole setup, with the other highlight of like the repeated thing of like spoilers if you haven't watched the film. I don't know. And for those, whatever I say here, it won't take away from watching the film itself. But like seen with the battle with Queen Beryl, all of my favorite Sailor Senshis are destroyed. As it's explained, that are destroyed, like in the battle of with Queen Beryl. Here, obviously, they have a whole thing. It's like Usagi's like has to mourn the deaths of her friends. But when I watched the show, when I watched the film, like, Usagi, you brought them all back to life before, like in season 1, like you did after the battle with Queen Beryl. And also, again, whenever the arc with the Dark Moon, I'm just like, Usagi, this isn't your first radio with this. But overall, it was really fun and interesting. We also get the introduction of Chibi, in which the revelation that happened in the second film, I was not surprised about. Honestly, I saw it a mile away, because you can just look at the two, because if you just look at the two characters, and they look very similar, and you could just tell that's where they were heading with the story. And then with the second film, it was largely the wrap up. It was essentially Usagi confronting the main villainess and then taking her down, as this arc more or less follows up on what happened with the film Sailor Moon Cosmos, follows up with what was set up with Sailor Moon Eternal, where the main villainesses of Sailor Moon Eternal were pretty Sailor Guardians that were corrupted. So here, instead, our villainess is a Sailor Guardian, and she has somehow destroyed all the other Sailor Guardians out in the universe. And then how it's presented in the second Sailor Moon Cosmos film, in which I kind of understood, and it was pretty much like, oh, okay, I see how it is. It's that this is all a culmination of everything that's come before for the Sailor Moon, for Sailor Moon. With honestly this arc feeling like the end of Evangelion for the Sailor Moon series. As from what I can recall at this, as I'm doing this off the cuff, following me watching it, is that the original is that Sailor Moon Stars came out around 1999, which was a few years following the success of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and also Revolutionary Girl Utena, if you, which I might go in another day, but Evangelion and Utena are very heavily inspired by Sailor Moon. So seeing it here, I was just astonished, and I just like it just I just can't express it. It's just my overall enjoyment. It's like incredible. And then the ending itself and how with what happens following like every single Sailor Moon arc, it's just essentially all of all of our Sailor Guardians are pretty much reborn, but it's explained that, oh, well, they're reborn, but by the time they get back to their homes, they've matured to the previous states, and where spoilers, um, with what happens in the film is that essentially Mamoru essentially makes Usagi. Mamoru pretty much proposes to Usagi, and at the end of the film, well, at the second Sailor Moon Cosmos film, they get married, and where you have a little like speck of dust that comes down and goes into Usagi, where it's like, oh, Chibiusa is gonna be born soon. It's just like, wow. Yeah, you also have to think about that. You don't know how long it's been. It's not explicitly stated in the text, but what I'm assuming it is like Usagi-chan is a first year in high school, and then Mamoru is, I'm assuming, in his fourth year because he's traveling to America and he's also a college student. So I don't know how does that work, but I'm assuming that a few years pass and Usagi is like likely like an adult, already hitting their 20th birthday or something like that, and then this is going on between her and Mamoru. We also get a really nice letter by Naoko Takeuchi at the end of the film, and it was just heartwarming saying her words. I overall am ecstatic and enjoy the film for what it was. A lot of it's I love all the animation cuts that were seen in the film, and also I think one of the stellar animation set pieces that kind of like was like it's the first scene when Usagi gets back to high school in the first film. Not to say that anything else happens in the films like take away, but it's just like that segment where it's the mix of 2D and 3D and the plane of space, just like really draws the eye of the viewer and the attention, draws the eyes of the audience, and it's just like just amazing. Also, these films are like produced by both Toei Animations and Studio Dean. I don't know, but likely I should do more research on it. But I want to say that the works by both studios and the works that these two studios have done for these four films, because Toei started working with Studio Dean for Sailor Moon Eternal. As before, it was just Toei and then Toei Animations like Philippines, and the obvious outsourcing of whatever segments needed to be outsourced to produce Sailor Moon Crystal for Sailor Moon Crystal. And just knowing the works of what Studio Dean has done, and just how superb these films turned out. It's just like I can't. I'm gonna keep gushing over it. Overall, if I were to give a rating, it's like a solid 8 out of 10. I don't know how that goes in relation to my reviews of like other Sailor Moon media, but it's so good. Like it's probably not my most favorite, or it's probably not my most favorite, and this definitely made me emotional. But I'll always have a warm place in my heart for the original TV anime over these films, and that's not to take away from the works that of the Sailor Moon Crystal franchise, but it's fact of the matter is like the original series did a stellar job and are works of their own. And I'm so happy that Sailor Moon gets a second opportunity for another adaptation with this Crystal franchise. It might not live up to the expectations or levels of the older series, but it's still worth a watch, especially for newer viewers who might be a little more squeamish about watching the original series, or just like are not interested in older animation. And these films were made with lots of passion and love, so even then, it's just worth the watch for the work of like the newer individuals that got an opportunity to make cuts, make decisions, direct, make new tracks and things for this, because of Sailor Moon's like entire legacy. As you know, I've been anticipating this film for many years at this point, and if to address the elephant in the room, like if you can't already tell, I have a Sailor Moon Cosmos poster in my room. So I don't know what more to say. Um, yeah. This has been Osoweeb, and I'll be signing out. Bye.